Famous working at height section. Right. Let's start. Working at height. It does not matter whether you're doing this, standing on a ladder. It is considered working at height. Okay. Standing on a platform. Hanging from a mast or a structure. Okay. Or you're on a cherry picker. All of that is considered working at height. Okay. It is regarded as working at height and strict regulations apply which you have to adhere to. Okay, working at height is defined as where any person is to work at the place from which he or she could fall from or into, unless such workspace provides secured foothold and when necessary secure handhold. Guys, that means if you stand on a ladder and you can fall from that ladder or fall into something, it is considered working at height. So far as is reasonable, practical means of fencing or otherwise such as fall arrest system shall be provided for ensuring the safety of such persons doing the working at height. No person is permitted to work at or fall arrest position unless trained and certified to do so. No person is permitted to climb any structure alone. All climbing activity is to be conducted by a suitably qualified team. Right. In terms of the OSH Act, all work done at height requires those persons involved to be medically fit. You're an extra 3, the one you do every year. Trained and competent to work at height. Okay. Valid for 3 years. Trained in the use and maintenance of height safety PPE. Have a fall protection plan in place as per construction regulations. Okay, then work at height PPE. We've looked at PPE before. All arrest harness, hard hat with chin strap, safety boots, your vest, your gloves, your lanyard, work positioning lanyard, okay, shock absorber system, restraint system. There's a self-railing lifeline. You work on scaffolding or where you can restrict your movement, okay, to a certain extent. Then your temporary horizontal lifeline. Guys use it on rooftops usually. And there's the full arrestor one that we don't really use. I haven't seen anybody using this. And there's your snap hooks with your shock absorber. Okay, so that is the PPE for working at height. All PPE must be in alignment with SABS or EU standards. Okay. Here's the Nokia FASEN rules. Working at height requirements. What does FASEN stand for? Okay, we'll get to that now. Valid medical certificate available. Okay. Check the following arrangements. No climbing at night. Changing of weather conditions. Guys, we're not going to climb on the mast if it's wet or raining or very high windy conditions. The drop zones. Pre-start checks before you start climbing. Hours of work. EMF. Is my guys at risk for getting radiated from radio frequency? Electrical, lone working. Verify that there is a competent, empowered supervisor on site and is aware of his and her responsibilities. Check the training records of the team against the documents required. Verify that the PPE used is in line with the standard issued to the individual and is in a good condition. Check that everyone on site understands that the requirements are non-negotiable. Okay. Okay, and there you have it. Fitness to work, arrangement, supervision, training, equipment, and non-negotiable. That is what FASEN stands for. Okay, continued work at height and FASEN. Personal behavior must always be attached to the structure at all times. Must prevent objects from falling and hitting people. Guys, that is why we're using the lanyards and attach our tools to the lanyards to ensure things do not fall. Okay. Must have a clear controlled zone around the structure when they're climbing, the demarcated zone or the drop zone. Must ensure that they are medically fit to climb, ensure that their safety equipment has been inspected before it's used. Must not climb or stand on fragile surfaces. Guys, how do you know if you walk on a rooftop that the zinc plates are not maybe rusted or the tiles is old? You could fall through that roof. Okay, it could be a fragile surface. Must not climb walls impaired due to drugs or alcohol. Must be accompanied by appropriately trained and equipped second person. Work at height must not be carried out alone. We require a rescuer on the ground. Okay. These behaviors are clearly communicated to all the climbers or the riggers. That all climbers, riggers, rooftop workers confirm that they have understood these rules. That there is a process to monitor compliance with and enforce these where necessary, involving personal consequences. That business process and pressure does not place climbers, riggers in a situation where they are forced to break these. Guys, this usually happens where we have to do something quickly or in a hurry. And then we tend to break the rules. And that's when the accidents happen. The climbers, riggers are provided with all reasonable tools and equipment to allow them to meet these requirements. 3 monthly gear inspections to be done on all work at height and rigging gear. Okay. Okay, arrangements. Working at night. Working at night will not be allowed during the hours of darkness. I think we're all clear on that. Weather conditions like lightning, high winds, heavy rain, ice and snow, extreme heat or cold. Okay. That is where we can stop the work and say, guys, it's now unsafe. We do not continue with work at height or rigging activities if the weather conditions are not favorable. Right, shutdowns. Arrangements to be made to power down live equipment, microwave antennas. The topic is covered under your EMF training. Right. The drop zone. What is a drop zone? When working at height, people at ground level must be protected. A drop zone should be clearly marked using a suitable temporary barrier to prevent access. Our barrier type usually. Or we could lock the site so nobody can enter there, and then we declare that whole zone within the site area as the drop zone. No person is allowed to work or walk underneath a suspended load while we're doing rigging. Drop zone should be a minimum of 5 meters from the base of the tower, depending on the site layout. Where neighboring property falls within the area that would normally be a drop zone, there must be liaison with the neighboring prior to climbing. Guys, the site could be on a shopping premises or university grounds, or there could be a roof right next to the tower, and you could drop something through that people's roof or onto their vehicles. That is why we need to make 100% sure that the drop zone is large enough and not to cause harm to people or property. Consider posting a watchman to prevent unauthorized access. Okay, we don't want school children to come and interfere and walk on our site while we're performing work at height or rigging. Okay, then your pre-start checks. Pre-start inspection must be completed before any of your work starts. Hours of work. Hours of work must be controlled and monitored. Where local legislation exists, this must be complied with. Guys, very often the landlord will also tell you, look, you're only going to work here between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock, and then I want you off my site. So yes, take note of the hours of work. Could be controlled by someone else. Okay, working at height and fasten, we continue. Lone working. Guys, if you need to go on a rooftop, take photos. Not allowed to come closer than 2 meters of the edge. Okay. No work at height shall be performed without a correct team composition. Supervisor rescue to always be on site. We can't perform rigging or climbing without a supervisor and a rescuer. Only work that can be undertaken from a safe guarded area or more than 2 meters from a fall hazard may be undertaken by a lone worker. That is, no one must go within 2 meters of an edge on their own. And there you see the picture on the right. Okay, supervision is important when working at height and performing lifts. Okay, and there you can see some pictures of guys performing different tasks, one on a lifeline, one on a cherry picker, okay? One doing rope access, one on a fixed ladder, right? No working at height activities are to be performed without adequate supervision. Supervisors' responsibilities previously discussed. Supervisors shall enforce discipline and all instructions shall be adhered. Okay. Anchor points, dedicated anchor. Anchor points must be inspected and certified on an annual basis. Date of inspection plate must be visible, invalid. Guys, you know how to check that plate on the anchor point. Okay, check when it was last inspected. Don't use it if it hasn't been inspected and it's been due for inspection. Please report it. Okay. Anchor point self-identified. For our rope access, guys. Self-identified anchor point shall only be identified by a certified level 2 or higher rope access supervisor. Edge protection needs to be used where required to protect your rope or equipment from damage or cuts. Okay, your rope hangs over the side of a building. It could be concrete. That rope can be, that surface area is abrasive to the rope and it can cause the rope to wear quicker. Okay, so you need to have edge protection for that specific rope. Okay, fixed fall arrest systems. When fall arrest systems are installed on a structure, these could be used as the preferred way of fall protection. They must be used with the appropriate traveler or slider and attached to the front upper harness. Guys, we don't use those sliders as far as I know here in the Western region. The following needs to be checked before a fall arrest system are used. Last date of inspection, condition, detention, signs of falls, number of persons allowed to be attached to the system at the same time. The correct traveler slider is used and has been inspected and is safe. Staging and podiums. Temporary raised platforms will typically be used for low-level access. These platforms must be of appropriate height and type to allow the task to complete it safely, have adequate guarding to prevent a fall. And there you can see cherry picture, portable and fixed scaffolding, fixed and portable scaffolds. Guys, we don't really use scaffolds. If you do, all scaffolds shall be erected and inspected by a trained, competent person. All scaffolds will be erected, inspected, and used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Fall protection shall be used during the erection of scaffolds. And then we have our famous MUPs, all our MUP operators, MUP users. Mobile elevating work platforms must be of appropriate type and capacity for the intended task, must be inspected and certified in accordance with relevant statutory requirements, must be operated by a trained and competent person. Work restraint shall be used by the occupants of that. They must not be used where it's an overhead risk or like electrical overhead cables. Okay, that is the real danger when using MUPs. Okay. Right, guys, that is the end of that working at height section. So here's a few questions we need to be able to answer. What is the main purpose of an exclusion or a drop zone? Okay. The answer is it is to identify the area where the persons are working over it and could possibly drop a tool or object, and this tool is a no-go zone during overhead activities or rigging activities. Okay. Can the supervisor allow full arrest type of work with abseiling gear? Okay. No, we can't. We require full arrest gear, which requires lanyard with shock absorber when we attach to the structure. Okay. When we're doing full arrest type of work and you want to use your abseiling gear, you need to have your hooks with your shock absorber fitted. Okay. What is the best and safest way to get tools to the top of the mast? Okay. We need to have a tool bag to carry all tools to the top, and when working on the top of the mast, we need to attach the tools to a lanyard which is attached to the structure or our climbing harness. Okay. Are we all clear on that? I'm going to give it a few seconds. And then we're going to continue. We almost